Wave 4 of the Booster Course Pass has been out for just over a couple of weeks now, and the general consensus is this is one of the best waves yet. Whilst I still don't think it reaches the highs of Wave 3, overall I think this might be the most consistently good wave of DLC, as I believe none of these tracks are below B tier. If you've seen any of my previous rankings, you'll know that I do an overall tier list of all the tracks so far. Currently, this is what it looks like. But if you stick around to the end, you'll see where all the Wave 4 courses fit in, as well as some changes I've made. So let's dive in to the worst track from the most consistent wave yet. Last wave I mentioned how the city tracks typically tend to wear off me after playing them a bunch, and that's exactly what happened here. When driving this for the first time, I was overwhelmed by all the scenery changes as you pass a riverside market with conveniently placed boats, a fruit and veg market, an elevated train station, a parking compound, and much more. And whilst the variety does make replaying this exciting, the track feels limiting in how you can approach these sections, as there's really no experimentation with this course. The tight track design puts you on one path, with the occasional path splits feeling really crammed and awkward. But still, this track is worthy of B tier, as no section really drags on for too long, and the visual design is some of the best we've seen in a city track so far. Singapore Speedway has the fortune of being set in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and this track takes full advantage of its landmarks. I especially like the final lap where you traverse the gardens by the bay. It's very reminiscent of tracks like Big Blue and Toad's Factory. I also like the gliding section near the end that gives you so many options on how to traverse it. But once again, this track feels very limiting in where you can go. I feel like the developers are very aware of this though, as despite the actual track feeling very bland, they try to spice it up everywhere by adding as much unique sections as possible, to distract us from essentially driving on roads through a city. And whilst it does definitely distract me, it still leaves me wanting a bit more from the sections that aren't unique set pieces. So I think by now it's pretty clear how sick of the city tracks I am, as even a track like this that has so many scenery changes, as well as a really cool water section that we've been lacking in the Booster Course Pass so far, even this track tends to feel a bit bland after playing it for a while, due to the course being a bit too long with too many straight paths. But with elements like the tram and piranha plants blended naturally into the track, this track achieves a sense of urgency and danger to some of the more lacking sections. Then for me, the highlight of the track has to be the grassy outskirts of the city, as it achieves a sense of freedom most great Mario tracks pull off. It's an open area with tons of ways to optimize it with or without a mushroom. Moreover, it's home to one of my favourite shortcuts in the DLC, that I'm still yet to pull off due to how difficult it is, but I'm sure when I do, it'll feel amazing. This shortcut being possible also showcases how, in the recent update, Nintendo have become a lot more lenient with Lakitu, as now there are much more shortcuts possible that were blocked off in previous waves. I'm not really sure why it took 4 waves for them to realise that keeping in shortcuts is a good idea, but nonetheless, I appreciate this. When I think of the remaining tracks from Mario Kart DS that could be ported over, this track is nowhere near the top, as there are still so many classics missing like Bowser's Castle, DK Pass, and Delfino Square. However, I can't deny, this track was remade really well. It added a whole new section with its own new shortcuts, which are both very challenging. It also added this wiggler, which is very cute, but low-key has no impact on the track at all, only waking up on the final lap and walking really slowly to the side of the track. The piranha plants also feel like they've been updated, as their fireballs seem purposely targeted to make this section way harder. Overall, the track is quite simple, but it's been upgraded substantially on top of a track that was initially quite fun and challenging, so its inclusion here doesn't feel like a wasted slot at all. Each wave of DLC seems to have one brand new course that gives us a taste of what Mario Kart 9 would have been like. So far, Ninja Hideaway has been the only new track that actually wowed me, but now with Yoshi's Island, I've gotta say this surpassed even that track. The attention to detail within this course is insane. As I've mentioned before, sections like the water area have beautiful tropical hills surrounding it that you never fully get to observe, yet they still include it to make the track feel more alive and vibrant. And this is seen everywhere throughout the track. The starting section alone has countless references to the Yoshi franchise, and the rest of the track is also able to implement so many features of the series into the track design. One of my favourite sections in the whole Booster Course Pass is the gliding section, that actually requires you to carefully move around instead of just quickly going from point A to B. Another point I want to mention is that recently I saw a video about keeping Mario Kart as Mario Kart and not changing it to Nintendo Kart. And the point the person made in the video is that there are so many Mario franchise themes and locations that we're yet to see. And this track is a perfect example of that. Hopefully in the future we can see some other locations explored. Maybe we'll even get a track of some Mario Party boards. I have been a huge fan of the recent GBA tracks, as they're able to completely reimagine their old designs into something modern that rivals some of the best tracks within Mario Kart 8. And Riverside Park is no exception, as I think this is the best GBA remake so far. The jungle and mangrove theme of this track is so stunning, coupled with the vibrant sunset, and this is one of the most beautiful tracks in the DLC. One of the most interesting additions to this track is the walking piranha plant dudes. They have certain items floating above their head that you can obtain by either driving into them or hitting them. This adds a layer of chaos to an otherwise pretty chill track. And by the final lap, there's a lot of items all over the place. It's a shame that this only works with bananas and mushrooms, as it would be really cool if it worked with whatever custom items you had on. But still, without that feature, I always enjoy playing this track for its great track design, beautiful atmosphere, and its added layer of chaos. DK Summit was one of my favourite tracks from the Wii, as it not only had amazing track design, but the slope as a whole felt so alive and really fitting for a Mario Kart track. If you've ever been skiing or snowboarding before, you'll know you're just pumped with adrenaline, and this course perfectly encapsulates that feeling. From the massive half pipes to the giant jumps, the tricky navigation at the end, this track always feels action-packed with the right amount of skill required. And I know everyone's mentioned it by this point, but the gap jumps are just so much fun to pull off. The first one is decently easy, but pulling off the second one is a real challenge, and I'm still yet to pull it off cleanly. Even though this course is set on one path the whole time, there are so many different ways to traverse it, so replaying it never gets old. When Wave 4 was first announced, I saw a lot of hype surrounding this track, and honestly, I didn't really get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this track from the Wii, but nothing about it stood out from any of the other stadium tracks. But oh wow, this version upgraded the track in every way possible. The visuals, despite being based on an unappealing muddy track, totally nails the motocross aesthetic, which is a great fit for Mario Kart. I would go as far to say it even looks better than Waluigi Stadium from the base game. But the best thing about this remake is how every section feels fully utilised. The bumps and the jumps make for a really fast-paced race that if you don't do properly will have you flying off the track. Hopefully not as bad as this though.
I've made a huge mistake.
Then this section here allows you to simply cut across the mud if you have a mushroom, or you can carefully drive across this wall, or just go the normal route. Then with this section, you have to thoughtfully plan where you go off the half pipes and at what angle to get through this area the best. I mean, you could just drive straight down the middle, but why the hell would you do that? Then my favourite improvement of the track has got to be these higher up platforms that really give a greater purpose to the half pipes. Like in Mario Kart Wii, there are a lot of sections that have half pipes, but ultimately there's really no use to them, outside of accidentally drifting onto them. But this track creatively implements the half pipes to create an extra challenge that feels also satisfying to pull off. Not only does it feel satisfying, but it also fits the theme of this track. Because I know these platforms are used in a lot of tour tracks, but within the confines of a stadium track, it really feels fitting. One other thing I'll mention is that there's this really cool shortcut in this track that only adds to the intensity of the race. I've only been able to pull it off in 200cc, but it's definitely possible in 150cc. Anyways, here's my overall rankings for all the waves combined. Still nothing's been able to top Wave 1's Shroom Ridge, but as you can see, on average, Wave 4 is doing the best at the moment. I'm not that great at maths, so I don't know what the actual numbers mean, but this is just the order of the courses divided by the amount there is, so that's the score. I don't know what it means though. I realize a lot of videos I make nowadays are Mario Kart 8 related, and I just want to say that's not what I'm only gonna focus on. I definitely have a heavier focus on Mario games, and this is just what's coming out for Mario at the moment. But in upcoming videos, I'll be checking out games like Mario Party 9, the entire 3D Mario series. I'll be checking out Tears of the Kingdom when it comes out, freaking hyped for that now, and Pikmin 4 probably. So subscribe to see those, I guess. Or you're probably already subscribed, just watch out for those, I guess.